Hello and welcome to this episode. In this video, I'm going to explain to you what virtual environments are and why you might need them in the first place. So in the previous video, I explained to you how you can download and install Python on your computer. And if you were successful at doing that, what it means is that now you have the Python interpreter installed globally on your computer. So anytime you invoke or you start the interpreter, in your terminal or on the command prompt if you're on Windows, then you are using the global installation of Python. It doesn't seem to be much of a problem until you start working on multiple projects that have different requirements or different dependencies and even different versions of these dependencies. So the problem is if I have, let's say, 4 projects and they all have dependencies on some libraries, okay, and I end up installing these dependencies in the global Python installation. What happens is if I start another project that requires a newer version of this library, once I install the newer version, it's going to overwrite the older installation, and the net effect is that all these projects that depended on the older version of the library might not continue to work perfectly because the newer release of the library might not be backwards compatible with the older version of this library. So Python came up with a very awesome solution which is called virtual environment. And what a virtual environment does is to help you to create an isolated Python interpreter or Python environment for each project that you work on. So if I have 5 projects, what virtual environment helps me to do is I can create 5 virtual environments or virtual runtimes of the Python interpreter, and that is going to be specific to each of my project. So within the virtual environment, I can install all the dependencies that is required for a particular project to work perfectly without later my global Python installation. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to create a virtual environment in Python once you have it installed. Okay, now if you installed Python 3, then what I would want you to do is first of all type Python on your terminal or command prompt and see if it prints out what you are seeing on my screen or something similar. If it doesn't, then what it means is that you probably installed Python on Windows and you have not added it to your path. So add that to the path so that the command prompt will be able to locate it. Otherwise, you'll not be able to do what follows in this video. So I'm going to quit and I'm going to clear the screen so that we start from scratch. Now let me see where I am. Okay, so I'm in my home folder, and the way we work with virtual environment is that we create a virtual environment in the root folder of the project. So let's say I'm working on a project called tutorial. So I'm making a folder called tutorial, and then I will cd into tutorial. Okay, once I'm in tutorial, you can see that it's empty. Once I'm in the tutorial folder, then I'm going to create my virtual environment in the tutorial folder. So what is going to happen is I will type Python minus m, okay, and I'll say venv, which stands for virtual environment, and then I'll give it a name. Usually we call it env, or some people choose to make it .env so that it is a hidden folder within their project. I mean, it is not a hard rule. You can choose to call it anything, but within the Python community, it's usually called env. Notice how I have used Python minus m venv, which is venv or virtual environment, and then the env is the name I want to give to my virtual environment. Feel free to call it anything. You can call it the name of your project, but like I said, in the Python community, it is almost a standard for people to call it env or .env or something along the line of virtual environment. And If you already have Python 3 on your computer, feel free to type Python 3. If you have only one version of Python installed, then if you type Python, it's going to refer to Python 3. But if you have Python 2.7 and 3 installed at the same time, then you have to be specific. So in my case, I'm going to type Python 3 minus m. The minus m is a flag to the Python interpreter that invokes a module, and the module we are invoking is virtual environment, and I'm trying to create a virtual environment called env. So I'm going to hit enter, and then we see what happens. Okay, so after some time you can see that it has finished creating my virtual environment, and the virtual environment is actually just a folder that is inside my project. If I open this app in my Finder, you see that it is a folder called env. It has the Python binary and some other files that it needs to be what a virtual environment is supposed to be. Basically, that is the whole idea of virtual environment. Now, once I have the virtual environment created, the next thing I need to do is to activate the virtual environment. What it means to activate a virtual environment is that once the virtual environment is activated, anytime you invoke the Python interpreter, it's not going to invoke the global Python interpreter. Rather, it's going to invoke the virtual environment that you created. Okay, so to activate, you say that source env bin activate. Okay, you type the command source, and then you pass it the path env slash bin slash activate. Let me show you where that file lies. So in my env folder, there is a bin and there is an activate file here. This is what is going to be executed to make my operating system begin to recognize this as a currently active Python installation. So if I come and I hit enter, you can see that my prompt has changed and it has indicated which virtual environment is active on my computer right now. So if I do which Python, that is supposed to tell me which Python interpreter is currently activated on my computer. And like I said, if you have multiple versions of Python, make sure you are specific about the version you want to see. I have 2.7 and 3. That is why I'm always doing Python 3. So once I do this, you can see that it is pointing to the Python 3 that is in my env bin and then Python 3. There is a way to deactivate it and fall back to the global Python installation, and like you rightly guessed, it is deactivate. Once you type deactivate, let's check which Python is active now. So I'll say which Python 3, and you can see that now it is the Anaconda Python that is globally set up on my computer, which is active. I can go back to activate the virtual environment that I created by doing source env bin activate. Once I do this and I check which Python 3, you can see that it has activated back the virtual environment we created, and it is evident on the prompts that you see in the terminal. So thank you for watching, and I hope you are not confused about this. If you are confused, leave your questions in the comment and I'm going to help you to be able to understand this properly. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we begin to play with Python. Okay.